it's Michael Caputo. He's the spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services. So it looks like they're telling the doctors at the CDC to not print science and to instead change some of their suggestions based on what Donald Trump wants. Well, that's literal political correctness. We don't want you to be factually correct. We want you to be politically correct. And the factually correct position is coronavirus is disastrous and it's not under control. The politically correct position is we've turned a corner and it's almost done now. Don't worry. And so now Caputo has said that the people who don't listen to the president and put out actual facts, and that's my actual, he didn't say actual facts, I'm saying actual facts. They're in essence doing, quote, sedition. Well, crime of sedition is punished by death. So that's where this country's gotten. Now, if you think, well, maybe he misspoke and that's just an outlier. Now, this is the guy who previously had to delete all of his tweets because there were some horrifically racist tweets about Chinese folks, let alone Muslims, let alone everyone else. And that was not from a long time ago. Those are all recent tweets, but you don't need any of that either, because he also said in a video that just came out, I don't like being alone in Washington. Shadows on the ceiling in my apartment, they're alone. The shadows are so long.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he said my mental health has definitely failed.
Yeah, but then he goes on to say, I don't want people to think we're picking on a guy who's having a breakdown. Okay,
no,
he's in power right now, and he went on to say, and when Donald Trump refuses to stand down at the inauguration, the shooting will begin. The drills that you've seen are nothing. If you carry guns, buy ammunition, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be hard to get. So that is very, very dangerous talk, and would have immediately gotten you fired in any administration previous to this one.
But I mean, Cenk, you just did it in an effort. I mean, you're not really doing it. You're as good a truth teller as there is, but you're like, that's dangerous talk. It's not dangerous talk. It's insane. It should be criminal. He is out of control. I mean, he says that there are left-wing hit squads coming, so arm yourself before them. I mean,
you got another plane. All right, well, I can tell you this, okay? So two things. One, if there are left-wing hit squads, I've never come within a billion miles of seeing them. I've met almost all the leaders on the left. I've never seen anyone come within a million miles of having any kind of conversation like that. Anyone who said anything like that would be immediately removed from the building. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're so detached from reality that it's mind-numbing.
So saying that government saying this, that you guys should go buy ammo because it's going to be hard to get, right? And these left-wing hit squads are coming for armed insurrection after the election. I mean, again, it's turning the very thing that we would be concerned about, legitimately concerned about from right-wing hate groups, and throwing it back the other way. It is the simplest tactic in the history of schoolyard bullying. You stole my lunch money. No, you stole my lunch money. I'm 5'3", I weigh 78 pounds. You're 6'4", 210 at age 13. You stole my lunch. No, you stole mine. Right? I mean, and it works, right? We actually have conversations about Antifa, the most poorly run organization. It's not an organization, the most poorly run, loosely affiliated people who never communicate in the history of the world, right? So as if people who don't want government are somehow voting for Joe Biden, right? I mean, it's like no, but we end up talking about them and not these guys. And there's no left-wing hit squads coming, but here he's telling people to buy ammunition. I mean, I have resisted for so long, with some exceptions, I'm sure, making comparisons to the worst moments of the 20th century. But this guy, who's dumb and isn't good at it, right? I mean, this is Goebbels-like behavior. That was the propaganda minister. That was the communications minister, for lack of a better term. That's what he would be called now. They just didn't know the word propaganda was bad, right? And this guy somehow has still a job tonight. Somehow isn't under some sort of mental health watch. And I don't know. They know that if you fire him, it makes it a big story, right? They're just not going to fire him because whatever. We're going to move on to something else other than this guy who has no business being in government. And we're leaving out the part that what he's most. I guess you started with it. That mostly what he does is he changes the information from the CDC to reflect the clearly proven falsehoods of the Trump administration. And meanwhile, I got a contractor working on this house that still says, no, man, you don't understand. Only 9,000 people have COVID. Like it freaking works.
Yep. So look, every country has a certain percentage that has mental health issues. A much smaller percentage that has mental health issues that is in some way dangerous. And I don't want people thinking that folks with mental health issues are dangerous. It's a tiny subset of that, right?
It might well be smaller than the subset of people who don't have mental health issues who are dangerous, like genuinely, right?
Yeah, and it depends on how you characterize those issues, et cetera.
Totally.
But so every country has it. It's not like that it's unique to America. It's just that in our country, we have taken those people with mental health issues that are prone to violence and create dangerous situations for themselves and for others, and made them the leaders of the Republican Party, the party that is currently in charge. That's insane. Trump said over and over again at his rallies back in the 2016 election, hit somebody, assault them, punch them, I'll pay your legal fees, carry them out in stretchers. He brought in a congressman from Montana who had assaulted and body slammed a reporter, and he congratulated him and said, oh, that's how you do it. And then they started talking about locking up their political opponents. They started chanting, lock her up, lock her up. If you don't remember, in the 2016 election, at one point, Donald Trump said, oh, Hillary Clinton, maybe somebody who believes in Second Amendment rights can do something about her. I mean, there is no end to how outrageous and insane and violent that they have become. Now they're rounding up people in places like Portland with unmarked cars and unmarked soldiers or police or whatever they are. They're not police. And now it's your Roger Stone, yesterday saying, let's start doing martial law and doing mass arrests, and let's take the ballots in Nevada and make sure we seize them so the states cannot count, and the federal government alone, controlled by Trump, will decide who won the election. So here we are in the middle of fascism, and so I know there's 1,000 crazy stories about Donald Trump, but every reporter should be asking him, have you fired Michael Caputo yet? Have you fired him yet? Have you fired him yet? Or do you think it's normal and okay for the spokesperson at Health and Human Services to say to people, grab your guns in case we need to kill people after the election?
So he would say to your second question, it's funny, man, we're just, the media is not trained for this, right? I mean, I say it all the time, but they weren't prepared for this sort of lying and this sort of craziness, right? In part because they're constantly looking for both sides, whatever that means, as if, what Chuck Todd has staked his reputation on, that if the Democrats say one thing, Republicans say something else. At most, it's 58-42, one side is right, but it's always right around in there. And here he was presented with 98-2, 100-0, and he didn't quite know what to do. And that's been true for so many. And so your second question was, do you think it is? And Trump will go, I haven't seen everything he says. I don't know. I think it's important that we tell the truth. And the CDC has been saying some information that's just not true. And I think it's important that we contradict that truth. Well, don't you think you should say something about it? I'll have to see what he said. And then, as opposed to your first question, which is not the kind of question a member of the press has asked in recent American history of a public official, which is, you haven't fired this guy, and it suggests that his mental instability is just as bad as your mental instability. He said a crazy thing. Only a crazy person would keep him on the job. Are you insane to keep this guy here? He's a threat to America, and he reminds me of Nazi Germany, right? I mean, or whatever, how you want to phrase that. Maybe I went too far with that because he could turn that against me, not because it's not true. But it isn't in our blood. I don't think I'd do it. I'm not really even knocking him. I mean, I hope I wouldn't now, right? But I mean, I wouldn't have at the beginning. I didn't know. Trump locked her up. We're like, wow, that seems alarming. But we didn't, we got lost in a lot of things. Among them, that, we hated that, many of the Democrats and people on the left hated that Hillary Clinton was the nominee. And we did. Many of us missed the real danger that this guy posed. And now looking back and reevaluating things like lock her up and Roger frickin' Stone, who's a criminal and an anti-American criminal, right? Who's bad for the country and not a patriot. And Alex Jones, this Trump guy is going on Alex Jones's show. It's a madman, literally a madman, right? I mean, it's a face in the crowd. It's Andy Griffith and a face in the crowd. And Roger Stone is saying these insane things that you would expect Bolsonaro to say, right? But of course, Trump admires that guy.
Yeah.
So, and how do we, journalists don't know how to process it. They try. I mean, I think see these guys press conference, they care. They want, many of them, but they go in, they go, I don't know what to do. I mean, I still to the point of, I just think everybody should ask what the reporter who asked the good question, he doesn't answer, shut down. They should all follow it up. I mean, he just leave the briefing room and call it a leftist cabal. So I don't even know. I don't know that we're prepared to handle this type of deceit and aggression, this type of aggression in deceit.
All right, thanks for watching this free clip of Old School. Don't forget to become a TYT member today for the rest of the show and for more exclusive content throughout the network. Join now at tyt.com/join.